we can't always like give our attention to things that no longer serve us, because if something isn't serving us anymore, why are we still trying to live that type of lifestyle? Why are we still trying to force people to be with us when they don't want to be with us? And this comes from definitely a wound, and like from your childhood, if something has happened in the past and something in your childhood made you feel very wounded and made you feel like you aren't worthy of just receiving love, because something about you needs to be fixed, something about you needs to change. And when you live in this type of way, that means that all your relationships you think need fixing, and you're always in a state of healing. But let me just tell you that healing is like every single day. You just comes with living. It doesn't one day end. And this is very interesting because one day it doesn't end, right? Every day you heal from different things. But if you're always in a state of trying to heal yourself and always trying to fix yourself to be better, then you can never actually live life. So it's important to find a way to find the equilibrium and find the balance in your life of how you can kind of stop healing and start living. And for a while, I was super into like listening to neuroscience podcasts, and I was studying so much on how to heal. Like, how am I supposed to live my life and actually heal? And then one day I realized that so much studying the whole entire day, so much of this like constant needing to fix myself and study was actually doing me more harm than actually living. And I think this obviously stems from being wounded when you were a child, and you think that in order to get some love from your parents, you have to be perfect for them. You have to change your mood so they will give you love. You have to change your mood so they will accept you as who you are. And what this does to a child is that everything that you want is constantly conditional. So your love is conditional. And what happens is that nothing is just purely organic love. Everything is like, oh, if you look this way, if you act this way, we're going to love you this way. And if you don't, then we're not going to love you. And if our mood is bad, then it's because maybe you are the problem. Let me just tell you, you are not the problem. You are not here to fix other people. Every time you think you need to fix other people, they're just manipulating you to think like, oh my god, I need you to fix me in order to become who I really want to be. You know, you don't have to fix other people in order to be worthy of anything. You are worthy in this moment and right here and now. And it's obviously easier to say, and sometimes you want to just be in a state of like still fixing. And what this comes from, if you're still trying to like fix other people in order to like them to love you, this comes from also like a dopamine like addiction. Like, you're trying to just get that like quick dopamine, but we have to go and find it in other ways. So maybe that's working out for you, it's going for a nice jog or walk or yoga or something that's going to actually give you the benefit of a long dopamine, but a hit of dopamine that will actually have a low peak. Like, you're not gonna just crash from the dopamine. For example, anything that comes with a really, really fast peak is gonna come with a really, really low dip and drop. So that's anything like scrolling on your phone, and I've definitely been there, and I am there, and I work on it all the time. It's the hardest part. Like doom scrolling, like that's just a peak in dopamine with a big crash, and it just leaves you empty. Or for example, just anything you can think of that is the biggest spike in your dopamine that leaves you very, very like low. Let's say like that's alcohol also, and those kind of things, you know, you get the gist. But then there's dopamine that actually is so good for you, like working out, like reading a book, like doing the hard things, and you know after you do it, your increase in dopamine is up, and you're not gonna drop so fast. It's gonna be slow and steady. And You can also get this from cold water exposure too. The increase in dopamine is super fast though, actually, but the dip takes a really slower time throughout the day. So the cool part is that once you get in touch with what's going on with you, and you're noticing that maybe you're just trying to get that peak in dopamine from these relationships that are no longer serving you. Maybe you're just trying to get that because that's all you saw in your childhood, and it's really not your fault. And once you really understand, like, oh, it's not my fault. I was born like this. And Dr. Gabor Mate, he says that the child that suffers from trauma, it starts in the mom's womb, okay? And that I did not know. Like, the child taps and feels all the energy of the mom. I obviously knew to an extent, but I didn't understand like the extent of how much trauma a child can endure throughout their life if they have endured some trauma throughout the mom's pregnancy. Okay, so let's say if your mom was raising you and she was constantly in a state of fight or flight, constantly in a state of fear, constantly worried like somebody's coming to chase her, just imagine your DNA is wired to live like this. So the easiest way that you can like not have this is knowing one thing, that there's neuroplasticity, and what that does to your brain is just knowing the fact that you can rewire your brain and your neurons in your brain so you can actually become someone that isn't always in a state of fight or flight, and you're not doomed. Okay, so it's important to understand that and know that you're not doomed, and your life isn't over if just because your parents have trauma, or if they're still enduring trauma and they haven't gotten over their trauma. Because a lot of times we see that so many times parents have trauma and they just give it over to their kids completely, and they think like, oh yeah, we're healed, but they're really deeply wounded still, and they haven't become that free version of themselves because they're still every day carrying around that trauma with them every single day. And it's important to understand that just because like your parents have trauma or this or that, or you know, things around you are traumatic, it doesn't mean, I need to sneeze, it doesn't mean that you have to carry that trauma with you, and you can become the best version of yourself without carrying their trauma. Like, we can heal ourselves just by accepting the fact that like, oh, I don't have to carry their burden. And it's so important to live your life without carrying other people's burden and thinking like, how are they gonna think of me, you know, what are they gonna think? Let me just tell you, they're probably thinking about themselves. And even if they are thinking about you, it's none of your business what they're thinking about you, because let them judge you and let them think about you. Because do you want to live a day in their life? Always think like that. Do you want to live like how this person lives their life? Would you want to have that relationship? Would you want to live that financial status? Would you want to live like that? And if the answer is no, you're on the right track. And if the answer is yes, you want to live like them, then become closer to them and learn how they live their life and see their friendships and their relationships and take something from that and then live their life. But for me, a lot of times I see so many different types of relationships, and I always say I don't want that. And it's hard for me to come across relationships that I actually want. So obviously that's where I'm learning still and growing as a person. And so too, you can learn and grow as a person and see like, oh, I like those type of people. What about them brings me curiosity? What about them makes me feel safe with them? And then you can think like, sometimes the way they live their life, their financial freedom, their relationship, you know, how just their philosophy and their free philosophy, and they're not always controlling their next move. They're in a state of constant like free flowing, like they're in flow state. They're not worried always, you know. So once you really understand that you can just see a relationship and see your friends around you and be like, do I like the way they're living their life? And if the answer is no, you don't have to stay close to them. Nobody is chaining you to them and saying like, yeah, you have to stay close to them and be friends with them and share all your philosophies with them because you did yesterday. Just who you were yesterday doesn't matter, and you don't have to be that person today. And that's how you can free up so much space to actually becoming the woman or man of your dreams, and you become the best version of yourself in this moment. And I hope that I shed some light, and just know that you are free to become the best version of yourself today. And even if you did face traumas in your life, just know that your neuroplasticity in your brain will give you the strength, and with repetition you will be able to become a new version of yourself, and you will rewire the neurons in your brain to become that best version of you. Anyway, subscribe down below, like this video, and comment something you are going to do to change those neurons in your brain. And we'll see you back for the next video. Bye!